For a long time, I was very good at making myself smaller, not in a way that anyone around me could easily see, but in a quiet, practiced, almost invisible way. I was adjusting how I spoke, adjusting what I said, adjusting how much space I took up in a room. And I would even read the environment, and I was editing myself to fit in that environment. And I was so good at it that for years I thought that I was being smart by doing that. And I was also being strategic, I was being adaptable. And I told myself that this is what it takes to survive in these spaces. Until one day, I just stopped and I looked at how exhausted I was doing that. And I realized the exhaustion was not from the work, it was from that performance, that trying to accommodate everyone else except me. When you are an immigrant, you learn to read rooms very quickly. It is almost a survival skill. You walk into a space, and within minutes, you know which version of yourself is welcome in that space. You know whether to soften your accent or whether to let it show. You know whether to reference your background or leave your background at the door. You know exactly how much energy that you bring into the room without making anyone feel uncomfortable. And in the beginning, this feels like wisdom. It's a survival skill because it is. And you are learning the rules of a new country, a new culture, a new professional landscape. And adapting is not something that is wrong. Some adaptation is necessary, some adaptation is even healthy. But there is a line that you have to draw because there is a difference between adapting to a new environment and disappearing in that environment. And I spent a long time on the wrong side of that line. And it's not because anyone explicitly asked me to disappear, but because the rooms I was in, they sent me a very clear message about how much of me was acceptable. And I listened. I listened for a very long time. I listened. Yeah, I listened. Wow. And here is what fitting into rooms that were not built for you actually costs. And I want to name each one specifically because I think women carry these costs. And they carry it without always knowing that it is what they are doing. The first cost is energy. That constant calculation of how much of me is acceptable here or there, it takes an enormous amount of mental bandwidth because it runs in the background and it's running all day. It's running in every meeting. It's running in every single conversation, in every email that you write. You are asking yourself, is it too direct? Is this too much? Will this make them uncomfortable? How do I say this in a way that does not trigger the reaction that I have learned to anticipate? That is not a small thing to carry. And most people around you, they never even see it happening when you're doing it. The second thing that it costs you is authenticity. Because when you are always performing a version of yourself designed for someone else's comfort, you start to lose track of the version of you that is actually yours. And this is something that happens slowly because you adjust something very small here, and then you leave out part of the story that you know will not land well. And over time, that curated version, it becomes the only version that you end up showing to everyone around you. And one day you sit alone and you try to remember what you actually think, what you actually feel, what you truly feel, who you actually are when nobody is watching. And the answer is quieter than it really should be. The third cost. The third cost is confidence. Every time you edit yourself to fit a room, you are sending yourself a message. And this is a quiet message, but it's a consistent message that you keep sending to yourself. You're saying that the real you is too much. The real you does not belong here. The real you somehow needs to be adjusted before she is acceptable. And after years of receiving that message from yourself, you actually start to believe it. You believe it not in a way that you would say out loud, but in a way that shows up in how quickly you defer to others, in how long you wait before speaking in a room, and how you preface everything that you say with, I might be wrong, but, or this might be a silly question, but. You have qualifiers that apologize for your presence before you even said anything. The fourth cost is time. Every year that you spend trying to fit into a room that was not built for you, it is a year that you are not spending in the right room. And the right room is waiting. So whether you built it or found it or you are about to build it, it is waiting. And every day that you spend contorting yourself to fit somewhere else is a day that you are not in the right place, where all of you is not just accepted, but all of you is also needed. Now, let me tell you the moment that things changed for me. It was the moment that I stopped asking, how do I fit into this room? But I started asking myself instead, is this even a room that I want to be in? That question changed everything, because not every room is for you. And some rooms, no matter how hard you work to fit in, they were never going to have space for all of you. And trying to fit into those rooms does not just cost you the things that I named, it costs you from finding or building the room that actually is yours. So I had to make some decisions. I stopped trying to be palatable. I stopped softening my story to make it more digestible to people who were never going to understand it fully anyway. And I stopped waiting for validation from spaces that had shown me very clearly they were not going to give it. And then I stopped shrinking my accent. I stopped shrinking my background, my perspective, my unique way of seeing the world. And I started building my own room, a room where the immigrant experience is not just a footnote before the real content. It is the content. A room where motherhood is not a liability or an excuse or a reason why I'm not where I was supposed to be in life. It is part of the story. A room where being 50 and starting over is not treated like a cautionary tale, but like exactly what it is, a new beginning. And something remarkable happened in the process. The people who needed that room, they found it. Not because I marketed it perfectly and not because I had the right strategy, but because when you show up as yourself specifically and honestly, the people who are supposed to find you, they find you. So here's what I want to leave you with. If you've been exhausted by the constant work of trying to fit in, I want you to consider something else. What if the exhaustion is not a problem to push through? What if it's just information? What if your body and your spirit have been trying to tell you for a very long time that this is not your room? And what would it feel like to stop trying to fit in and start building something that fits you? Not every woman listening to this needs to start a business, but every woman listening to this, they deserve a room. They deserve a room where she does not have to shrink, where her story is not something that she apologizes for, where her way of seeing the world is not something that she needs to translate before it is acceptable. That room exists. I don't know why my glasses are fogging. And sometimes you find it, sometimes you have to build it. But either way, you stop waiting for the wrong room to one day decide that they are going to make space for you, because they will not. And you deserve better than waiting, because you are not too much. You are more than enough. You are just in the wrong room. All right. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Webley, and I want you to drop a comment below to tell me, what room have you been trying to fit into that was never actually built for you? And I want you to hit subscribe, because I will be back and see you tomorrow for another video.